I'll launch right in. Believing that female body hair is abhorrent while male body hair is acceptable is sexist, plain and simple. And for a large part of my life, even after I grew a feminist consciousness for myself, I believed that the hair on my legs was abhorrent and disgusting and had to be removed, whereas the hair on men's legs was perfectly fine. Now, this wasn't the only sexist belief that I'd internalized, naturalized, and consequently forgotten, but it was one of the most blatant, and I'd also argue one of the most deeply entrenched. And so, growing my body hair then has really given me a sense of the power of social conditioning over how I feel about my body for the first time. And also, positively, it's given me an awareness that I have the ability to break down this conditioning, to overcome it, and to change the world I live in. And as strange as it sounds, I believe that through fostering choice around body hair, we can work towards a more equal society. A society in which people are free to choose how to look and what to do regardless of the shape of their genitalia. My decision to stop shaving was kind of playful and personal at first, and I knew it would be challenging, but I also thought it would be kind of fun. And I expected some shock and surprise from my loved ones and from those around me, but never in my wildest flights of fancy could I have imagined that a schmattering of hair would have caused the hullabaloo that it did. I wrote an article for Agenda, and then that got picked up by The Guardian. I wrote for The Guardian. I was invited onto This Morning, a television programme. And from there, the odd cogs of the media machine just started whirring and reproducing the amazing tale of the woman who does not shave. In TV and radio, magazines, newspapers, blogs, the chirpy babble of social media. I had a photographer and reporter sent to speak to me from Norway. I was on the radio in Australia. I won ITV's OMG award, very prestigious. I was Diva Magazine's Person of the Month, and my inbox was just flooded, just inundated with emails from all over the world. Some naughty, some nice. On the naughty front, the Sunday Sport have actually also asked me to do a nudie photo shoot. They were really surprised when I said no. But all of these people had really strong opinions, And when I had a chance to step back from what would you even call it, from like this mania, I realized that body hair is a big deal. As much as people try to trivialize it, it's a really potent symbol of the way that we police women's bodies. And when you reject that body policing, people get really upset and emotional, and they don't know why. And I think that maybe the reason is because you're kind of telling them that all of those differences between men and women that they have assumed are natural are really just makey-uppy bullshit. And I know that body hair can seem like an odd avenue through which to approach the problem of sexism. And when feminists try to kind of seriously raise it on the agenda, they're dismissed a lot. We're given what I like to call the "why are you talking about body hair while there are starving children in Africa" arguments. And perhaps because it is so easy to trivialize, it keeps getting pushed to the bottom of the feminist agenda. And so we get generation after generation of young women who are taught to internalize disgust of the changes their bodies undergo at puberty and hatred of their post-pubescent bodies. And it just seems like a bit of a no-brainer to me that actually in the society of eating disorders and inequality and so much focus on women's looks, that is pretty significant. Also, you can argue that the social construction of a hairless female allows us to create visual categories of male and female that then provide justification for an unequal gendered society. Or to put it in kind of simpler terms, by making boys look like stereotypical boys and girls look like stereotypical girls, we allow the world to be divided up into boy stuff and girl stuff. We provide justification for that. Because the removal of female body hair, it exaggerates differences between men and women. And it positions the unmodified male body as normal, yet the modified female body is normal. And consequently, you end up with the unmodified female body being transgressive, abhorrent, disgusting. And so women are taught to be ashamed of their unmodified bodies. Symbols are important. So if you have a symbolic system in which men are hairy, pine-scented and unadorned, and women are hairless, flower-scented and hung with trinkets, you can argue that such different creatures must fulfill different social roles and that they merit different treatment. So women, these childlike, decorative blossoms, could not possibly run governments or businesses like sturdy, practical, adult men. And we're told that this is not socially conditioned. Look, they're so different. It's natural. It's based in a natural distinction. Here's some nature. I'm going to be David Attenborough. When little human children grow up into big human adults, they get hairier. Their armpits become soft nests, the better to hatch baby birds. Their pubic regions become forested, and their legs, previously downy and adorable, grow a healthy adult coat. The amount and type of hair each individual human grows differs depending in part on factors like ethnicity and gender, and then in part on your own unique genetic makeup. Isn't being a human cool? At some point during your second decade on this planet, you get to metamorphose into something new and strange. It's kind of like sci-fi. I'm a big sci-fi fan. Or, it's like a crazy dream that you get to live for real just once. I'm changing. And I don't care if I sound like an acid adult hippie. It's awesome, But unfortunately, in our society, we don't teach all these little child, adult, hybrid creatures to celebrate the things that are happening to their bodies. We don't teach them all that a new light is about to spread all sparky like a firework across the inky and mysterious sky of their existences. Instead, we teach approximately 50% of the child, adult, liminar, hybrid creatures that the hair marking their sexual maturity is abhorrent and disgusting, and they must remove it or everyone will think they are highly weird. We might not have an educational module for girls entitled Removing Your Disgusting Post-Pubescent Hair and Spending the Rest of Your Life Maintaining the Illusion that It Does Not Exist. But girl children learn this syllabus. And the cultural symbolism of all of this does not take some kind of genius, seasoned semiotician to unravel. Teenagers grow body hair. It marks their sexual maturity. Male body hair is normative, healthy, masculine, adult. Female body hair is, keep it away from me, you filthy little freak on glee! It's not a difficult, simple sign system to work out. And so our attitudes to female body hair are a sign of the way that we value women. They're a sign of the way that women's bodies are commodified, objectified, policed, and controlled, made public property. And the good side of all of this is that this makes body hair a particularly potent feminist protest. On a personal level, it allows women to confront the conditioning that has made them ashamed of their bodies. And on a political level, it makes sexism visible. It fractures the myth that we live in an equal society, and it makes you confront your prejudice in this really visceral way. I get really visceral reactions to my body hair. It's quite fun. Body hair asks, and I like to imagine body hair speaking in a kind of a husky drawl personally, but you're free to anthropomorphize as you will. It asks, what other sexisms are you ignoring? What other inequalities have you internalized? There's no logical, rational, or natural reason for the mandatory erasure of female body hair. The mass aversion to woman fuzz in our societies is a learned and arbitrary construction. In our culture, female body hair is deemed transgressive and unfeminine. And I always wrestle with unfeminine. I mean, if it's something that happens to all of us at puberty, how can it be unfeminine? You might as well tell me that tits are unfeminine. But anyway, it's deemed unfeminine and transgressive. And so when we're confronted with it, because it's usually just rendered completely invisible, when we are confronted with it, we react with emotions, often with disgust, and often by shaming this hairy witch who has dared to screw with our nice, neat categories of male and female. And I would never tell anyone to stop shaving. Feminism is all about choice. But what I would say, like my only prescriptive thing that I'd say is that it's really important to acknowledge the irrationality of this disgust and the misogyny of shaming women who choose not to conform to this gender norm. If our bodies are used to oppress us, they can also be used to liberate us. If the gendered symbolism of body hair is easy to read, then so too is a protest against it. In short, letting loose your underarm mousse is an unequivocal screw you to societal sexism. It makes inequality visible, and it forces people to confront their learned hatred of women's bodies. Objectify this!